Hello, good morning. This is Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Ansari, Department of Political Science, Aligarh Muslim University. Today in my presentation, I'll be talking about politics, what it means, and its importance. Now, when we talk about politics, the very thing that comes into our mind is that of something which is nefarious, which is bad, or which is something immoral. But exactly that is not the term what politics indicates in reality. Politics, when we talk about as an academician, we talk about politics at two levels: politics as an activity and politics as a discipline. So, here, when we talk about politics and its importance, we talk more about the politics as an activity, because politics is the way that people in group make decisions and agreements so that they can live together. Now, this politics is not just about countries and governments, but also about how companies and how clubs, how schools and how churches they are run. So governments may play a big role in our daily lives, from the taxes that we pay to government, and also from the things that is allocated to us. So they generally decide things which we get, or who gets what, or what kind of things is assigned to different groups of people. So what basically is politics is that it creates money, it creates building like roads, hospitals, and education to people. So politics is the decisive factor in distribution of values, and these are the values which are allocated and distributed. Now, it also involves the laws which are made to keep society safe and well ordered, and like the laws that can avoid traffic jams, or which can avoid a driver riding a car after drinking alcohol. So government can also control people and what happens in a country in other way, like how they spend money. That is also is what being checked. So politics generally is talking about government, talking about institutions, talking about the process, talking about the people, their conflicts, and the resolution of conflicts. So politics, it helps us clarify what we ourselves believe in. So when we study different political ideologies, we can discover how our own beliefs and values are in relation to these ideologies. So ideologies help us in understanding our values plus the ideology through which the governments are run in different countries. So it forces us to really think about what we stand for and why we stand for certain ideology. So being able to express our beliefs accurately and concisely is a valuable skill, and that will serve us well in future. And this understanding of politics brings into our understanding such issues and gives us a focused understanding on different topics. So another reason why politics is important is because it's a living, it's a breathing subject, and the political landscape is dynamic in nature, continuously changing, constantly bringing about new things. So with new events happening every day, so this means that what we learn in our classes as politics is always relevant and up to date, because we generally talk about things which are influencing our lives as a day-to-day activity. So we can use current examples in our writings, our essays, and our discussions, and which makes the study of politics really very exciting. So when the father of political science, Aristotle, he called man a political animal, he recognized certain natural abilities which were quite unique to him but unknown to other species. Now, it meant that as a moral being, man is capable of good and self-realized life under the membership of state, or the polis, as they used to call their state in ancient Greek. So the city-state of ancient Greek, for example, the Aristotle, when he was talking about politics, in that city-state, he was talking about all those activities which were performed by individuals as a citizen. So politics encompassed human life so comprehensively that all the activities performed within it, it promoted a life, and that was good life. So politics by its very nature is intended on promoting the good life. So modern day theorists, they regard those activities as politics, which are expressed through different groups in a society. For example, those roles performed in political parties or in a diplomatic sphere during peace time, and the state of war among nations or the warfare, it may not be the subject matter of politics, but still the compliance to norms of war and then the efforts towards de-escalation are very much the relevant subject of politics. So politics is a study of conflict, but it's not just about fighting and violence. Politics is actually a way to solve problems and make decisions without resorting to force. So it's like finding a peaceful solution to a disagreement. So think of it this way, that when two countries they have a dispute over land, they can either use the military powers or the force to try to win over their territory or their point of view, or they can negotiate and find a compromise that both sides agree on. So the second option, wherein the parties, the contending parties, they sit together across the negotiating table and they discuss the matter, they sort out all the differences, and through that negotiations they reach certain compromises, and those compromises are acceptable to both of them. So when that activity takes place, that process takes place, that is called a political solution to a problem. So politics is often seen as a struggle for power, and this idea has been discussed by many scholars throughout history, and one influential book on the subject is Politics Among Nations by Hans Morgenthau, published in 1948. Now, Morgenthau, he introduced the concept of political realism, which views politics as a competition for power. And in that, he argued that statesmen, they must think in terms of their national interest and the balance of power among other nations. Now, this concept had a significant impact on the foreign policy of different countries during the Cold War and even after that. So, Morgenthau also emphasized the need to reconcile power politics with ethical considerations. So, in short, the politics is struggle for power among nations or different groups within a nation. So, in other words, a conflict among groups to control and dominate meager resources of society can be labeled as politics. And the realization of such an aim promotes acquisition of special capacity and skill, at times at the cost of the moral principles even. But since the conflict among the nations is at the level which is very civilized in nature, so decisions and actions which are taken by the civilized nation states into conflict are always based on some high moral standard. So in a community, when an organization is established to govern and make decisions for everyone, it becomes a polity. So a polity is a public organization that holds authority over each member of the community. So the term political as such refers to something that is not private, but rather applies to a limited number of people who are citizens. So according to Sheldon S. Wolin, in its book that is Politics and Vision, the politics is described as something unique among authoritative institutions in society because it focuses on what is common to the entire community. So talking about authoritative institutions, these authoritative aspect of politics, it refers to the legitimate exercise of power. So in democratic societies, authority is derived from the consent of the people. Now this means that those in power, they are elected and appointed through a process that is deemed as fair and just. So people give consent to that process through their participation. And through their participation, the process which comes into end to elect their leaders or their representatives, so they are the ones who have the authority to take decisions on their behalf. So the authority of political leaders and institutions is derived from the trust and confidence placed in them by the people they represent. So It has been very beautifully summed up the characteristics of politics as of all the authoritative institutions in society, the political arrangement has been singled out as the uniquely concerned with what is common to the whole community. So certain functions such as national defense or internal order or the dispensing of justice and economic regulation, they have been declared the primary responsibility of political institutions. So the important thing here is what is common for the whole society, and that will promote the whole good or the common good. That is what, when consensus are formed on that, and the forming of consensus and implementing those decisions which are taken is what politics is all about. So in other words, the political system has specific characteristics that set it apart from other institutions. So it is responsible for functions that benefit all members of community, such as the national defense or maintaining the order, such as the country delivering the justice or regulating the economy. So these functions have been designated as the main responsibility of political institutions because they have a direct impact on the well-being of individuals in the community. So justice, economy, the country, defense of its borders, the territory, people's welfare. So these are the primary issues and primary functions on which authoritative decisions are taken among the community of people. Then, talking further about politics and its relevance and importance, we find that it involves the establishment of laws and regulations that govern society. Now, the laws are the formal rules that dictate how individuals and groups should behave and interact with one another. So, they provide a framework for resolving conflicts and protecting individual rights and maintaining a social order. So the creation and enforcement of law is a key function of politics as it ensures that society functions in an orderly and fair manner. Furthermore, we find that politics plays a crucial role in shaping the societal norms and values. Now, through the exercise of power, the political leaders and institutions have the ability to influence the public opinion and shape the collective values of a society. Now, this can be done through the implementation of policies, the enactment of laws, and the promotion of certain ideologies. So, politics has the potential to shape the moral and ethical fabric of a society, as it determines what is deemed acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So, by focusing on what is common to the whole community, the political system ensures that decisions are made in the best interest of everyone. It takes into account the needs and concerns of all members rather than the prioritizing of interest of selected few. So this distinguishes it from private organizations that may only serve the interest of their own members or stakeholders. So the establishment of a polity and the existence of political system are crucial for maintaining a functioning society. Now, they provide a framework for making decisions and creating rules that apply to all individuals. And without these structures, there would be no centralized authority to address issues that affect the entire community, leading to chaos and potential conflict. So, politics concerns all the members, and the decisions which are taken makes it a unique body which not just makes a decision but also implements it and enforces it. So politics is, in short, all about decision making, whether in choosing a candidate to vote for or to make policies that affect public or decisions play a crucial role in politics, and how do these decisions are made, and that is also another important aspect, and who has the power to influence those decisions, that is another aspect which is of politics. So one way that decision can be influenced is through lobbying and public finance. Now interest groups like lobbyists, they can provide valuable information to policymakers, but they can also manipulate the decision-making process in their favor. So if we take an example, and we find that in Latin America, for example, almost 75% of citizens, they believe that a few powerful groups are governing their countries for their own behalf. Now, this highlights the need for regulations and to ensure transparency and fairness in decision making. Now, we also find instances in recent past during COVID-19 pandemic, it further emphasized the importance of political decision making. The governments around the world, they have made and they are made to go through tough choices to control the spread of virus, while also considering the fact and its impact on civil rights and the economy. So the risk management techniques like simulation analysis can help policymakers make informed decisions. To note that decisions should not only prioritize public health but also take into account economic factors and ethical considerations. So in conclusion, the concept of political, it refers to a public organization that governs and make decisions for the entire community, and it is characterized by its focus on what is common to all members and its responsibility for functions that benefit everyone. So by establishing a polity and a political system, societies can ensure that decisions are made in the best interest of all individuals, promoting stability and harmony within the country. So a major question that comes uh, up at the very outset as to why should politics be taught to young students? What is the relevance, salience, and importance? So this question is an important one, and we should try to know how it's going to be beneficial. It is a study which is in power. It's a study which is in resources, which is a study which talks about managing the resources and taking decisions about the resources. So we find that some of the very relevant and salient features which makes it unique and different from others, and why we study this subject and what is the importance, is that we find that this political science is a field that deals with the study of politics, that is the government, the public policy. So it helps us to understand the role of power, the role of interest, and role of political institutions in society. So it helps an individual in locating his place vis-a-vis things which are political. Then every man must know his rights and duties for his personal development. Now, politics makes a man alert about his place in society by making him aware of his rights and responsibility, and with that knowledge, applying those rights and responsibilities in true sense and make a maximum out of the situation or the role that is assigned by virtue of his place in society. So in order to be a good citizen, one must know the government, its objectives and its basis, etc. So politics gives knowledge of this, and with that knowledge, one can really be a very good citizen in molding those policies as per the interest of the whole people in common, or following those policies if they happen to be in the interest of the people. It is only by the information and understanding that information that one can take such decisions, impactful decisions for themselves and for the interest of the society. Then a man, it is considered, who is without an ideology is less than a man, and absence of ideology, it gives birth to immorality and abnormality, and makes and behavior of an individual highly opportunistic. So the study of politics tells us about different ideologies and helps us to formulate our own ideas and base its foundations on certain principles which guide to a society which that ideology imagines to bring into reality. So an individual who knows about that sticks to the program of action which is propagated by that ideology, and through that action it can bring about or realize the ends which are promised by these ideologies. So the study of politics, it also provides good knowledge to politicians and government officials about the situation in the country, and also about the task that is at hand and the changes that they need to formulate and bring about in the policies. Thus, it may improve the quality of government, governance, and also the administration. So without understanding politics and without participating in revolutionary politics, it is impossible to change society. So change which is the law of nature, and it is for the betterment. Those changes are only brought about through understanding the present and realizing what is better for the whole community, the whole country, and then making changes in policies accordingly. So the leaders who are aware of such changes or who are in touch with what's happening around, they can bring about those changes and become and remain relevant for the society. So in order to live a fully developed life and a fully developed man, and to understand the world we live in, its socio-economic and other difficulties, we have to study politics and other social sciences. So the study of natural sciences helps us in understanding natural problems like floods, earthquakes, epidemics, tornadoes, storms, cyclones, etc. In the same manner, social problems like poverty, starvation, and unemployment, scarcity, dictatorship, exploitation of poor by the rich, etc., can only be understood and solved by an objective study of social sciences and knowledge of the law of social development. So, the object of knowledge about society is not only to understand society and the world around us, but also to urge for and desire for changes for the betterment of the whole people. So in politics, all the activities are either to bring changes or to resist change, and politics is essential for both bringing and resisting change. So if you want to change society and put an end to exploitation of man by man and establish a healthy egalitarian society instead of exploitative capitalist society, the study of politics is very essential. Then further, politics is the study of both facts and values. So we have to make value judgments in politics, because without any judgment of good and bad, there can be no meaningful discussion on change. So without the motive of bringing change in society and creating healthy conditions of living in it, society will not become just. So politics as a status quo, conservative discipline, and becomes a nasty game and will serve the objectives of the ruling class, and will be a servant of society in the hands of the capitalist class and the victim of ill conscience. So the study of political science develops critical thinking and those skills which can be helpful in understanding and bringing about those changes. So it encourages us to question assumptions and think logically about complex issues. So it also helps us to understand international politics and law. It prepares us for career in politics and governance as well. It also involves diversified field. So it's a vast and diverse field. It includes the study of political system, ideologies, institutions, behavior. So it examines the impact of globalization, regionalization, and international organizations on national and international politics. So in India, political science is especially relevant due to its rapidly developing economy and the country with a diverse population and complex political system. So studying political science can qualify us for many careers in private or profit or non-profit organizations as well as the public sector. So it grounds us in the importance of political participation and prepares us to take part in the political life of our communities and the nation. So thereby, a citizen remains very informed. So by studying political science, we gain insight into how power operates and how decisions are made that affect our lives and our daily lives. So it fosters informed citizenship and equips us to participate in civic life, engages in public discourses, and hold our leaders accountable. Overall, studying politics and political science is important for teenagers as it empowers us to make a difference in the world and prepares us for a successful future. So in conclusion, what can be said is that politics is the set of activities that involve making decisions in groups and managing power relations among individuals. It can be seen as both private and positive and negative. So depending on the context, politics is studied in the field of political science, which examines government, the way in which decisions are made, and politics is carried out through various methods such as promoting one's own political views, negotiating with other political subjects, making laws, and even using force. So it occurs at different levels from local governments to international relations. So overall, politics is a complex and multifaceted field that involves decision making, power relations, and study of institutions and behavior. So it is influenced by historical and cultural factors, and each country has its own unique political system. So while politics can have positive aspects such as compromise and non-violence, it also has negative aspects such as a partisan fighting and the influence of special interest. So understanding politics is important for understanding how societies are governed and how decisions are made that affect people's lives. So at the end, what we find is that there is no subject which can be as enlightening and as interesting and as individual making, as individual developing and nation making as this subject, that is political science. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.